Rikishi did it for The Rock, and we are doing this for you. WWF No Mercy 2000, the show most famous for Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Rikishi, no holds barred. Of course, Rikishi had won over Stone Cold Steve Austin, one of the most infamous Attitude Era storylines of all time. And this show screams Attitude Era, by the way. Classic memories from this one. Kurt Angle winning the WWF Championship with Stephanie McMahon Helmsley in his corner over The Rock. Of course, we've also got, who remembers the Los Conquistadors in the year 2000? We've got Naked Midian and much, much more. That's to dive in with everything and more is NX Steve with me in the hot seat. NX Steve, your thoughts of No Mercy 2000?
Surprisingly better than what I thought it was be, if I'm honest. Like, we was talking before we started that we've just watched WrestlePalooza, and the fact that if you go back to 2000, this is probably a nothing show with maybe one or two good matches, and I actually enjoyed this more than WrestlePalooza, and I think that's the biggest shock. I mean, even Naked Midian got a pop from me, and it's like, it's Naked Midian at the end of the day. I don't know how I'm supposed to be popping for that.
I mean, you do you, my friend. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know.
No, but at the same time, I'm going to agree with you. There's a lot of fun on this show, and yeah, even the bad, it sort of there's something you can have a bit of a laugh with, and people seem to be interacting in the show with it. I mean, you mentioned Naked Midian there. He's in the match with William Regal. Regal's facials just in this match in general just make it entertaining. So I mean, there's so much to go through this, and look with rose tinted glasses, I guess, when it comes to the Attitude Era. But yeah,
there is. I tell you what, there is one thing I did majorly notice about this. I think this is the first time I've ever, because we've obviously watched WrestlePalooza, then we've watched this, and I think it's the first time I've probably watched both of them so close together. And it clearly is the crowds that's the thing. Whereas you go back to 2000, and it's wrestling fans, and nowadays it's families, and you just don't get the same reaction. Like, you can go and watch the WrestlePalooza review we're gonna do. There's some quality matches on it, but I don't feel the crowd was half as interested as what they were in this, for what, 25 years ago.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, the thing is, like we say, this is like a 25-year anniversary. We're releasing this a few weeks ahead of time because NXT has their No Mercy show in 2005 at the end of September. Obviously, traditionally, these shows were in October in WWE time. But yeah, what I would just say, just to answer that quickly with regards to families, for me, obviously, it was a different demographic, I suppose, that was more interested in that period, more 18 to 30 rather than your families. But at the same time, I think families generally get involved these days. But I think the problem with today's market is more the case that everyone's been priced out. I feel like you need to have some serious dollar behind you if you're going to be going to attending WWE shows, especially if you're doing it on the regular basis. We see familiar faces, but I think because those people go to those shows so often, is it a special? You know, there is that vibe as well. I think sometimes when the show comes to your town, you don't get to see it as often, and when you're there, you go and you make a buzz, you make a noise. I think that's usually the song and dance for me when it comes to that kind of thing. And I think with here, No Mercy, maybe it's the time period as well. You've got the likes of Stone Cold Steve Austin, you've got The Rock. You know, everyone's going to go mental for these guys.
Yeah, and I think you look at like the rumor for WrestleMania next year is that it's meant to be like almost six figures for front row. It's silly money, and how people can afford it, generally I don't know. And yeah, like you said, you go back to this era, and it's, you said Rock and Austin. That's like two of the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. Do you know what I mean? For most people, so it's just a different era, unfortunately. Don't get me wrong. There is Mount Rushmore for people nowadays, but like those two are like pretty much all timers.
Absolutely. I mean, to be fair, we're such a blessed roster in the year 2000, and you know, we're going to dive into that show for you now. But just to go with a few more names you can expect us to mention here. Obviously, Kurt Angle. You know, you've got the likes of, you know, Chris Jericho involved in this one as well. You know, it's China. There's so many legends that are involved in these shows as well. Dudley Boys as well. You know, Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys is just, you know, a peripheral of one of the greatest rosters of all time. But I mean, this show is going into it then, took place on October 22nd, 2000 in Albany, New York, in the venue, the Pepsi Arena. Is Pepsi all right? 550,000 was the buy rate. Our commentary team was, of course, Jerry the King Lawler with good old JR Jim Ross. And yeah, I mean, the video package to start this show up was actually just a bit interesting. It was just based around Austin and Rikishi. Austin, of course, infamously run over at Survivor Series at 1999. The famous whodunit angle we learn is Rikishi. Austin said it's the worst night of his life. You almost took my life, but I'm going to give you the beating of your life. Stone Cold will show no remorse and no mercy to Rikishi. And we learn as the show starts that Austin hasn't lived as of yet, so he's not in the building at the time of the start of the play. Rikishi Rikishi been looking for him through Sunday Night Heat as well. But your thoughts on that opening video package we had here with No Mercy 2000? Very basic.
Yeah, I think I would have been a bit more critical, but look, the Austin whodunit story, like you said, one of the biggest stories in pro wrestling history, I think, ever, especially for that time period where arguably it is at its peak, and it's almost like a movie plot. Like, everyone loves a good murder mystery kind of whodunit kind of thing, and that's exactly what this was. I think obviously a lot of people obviously sour on who actually did it, with it being Rikishi, but do you know what? I didn't mind it watching this back, like, because it gave them opportunity to repackage Rikishi, gave him new music, gave him a new attitude. Still picking up losses, unfortunately, but it's just a good way to rebrand someone, essentially.
That was the problem, was the losses. If he had not been on the losses, I think we'd have been all right. We'll dive more into that later in the stream. Why Rikishi could have been booked better as a heel superstar. But anyway, let's dive into then what was our first match on the show for us here. And hey, who loves a table spot? I think we all do. So why not have our very own Dudley Boys Tag Team Table Elimination Invitational? It's a mouthful to say the very, very least. So basically, rules of this match is a gauntlet match. Two teams start off, and once someone's put through a table, the team that's been put through is eliminated. Your next team comes out. We've got 5 teams in total. So kicking things off, we had Too Cool versus Lowdown. Who remembers D'Lo and Chaz? I certainly didn't. That was a shock to me. But yeah, pretty much Chaz is pushed off the top rope by Scotty Too Hotty to go through a table. D'Lo also misses his frog smash on Grandmaster Sexay, putting himself through a table as well, which leads us to the next group. I'm going to come to you each time and get your thoughts on the table spots of eliminations.
I appreciated D'Lo's. I think the fact that he eliminated himself is a very inventive style and way of doing it. Chaz's was a bit underwhelming, like just fall over and fall through tables. So underwhelming, I think, but they kind of balance each other out.
Certainly do, indeed. Do you ever interested? You remember Lowdown by any chance?
I remember the name. I just don't remember it being Chaz, because isn't Chaz one of the headbangers as well?
Yeah, so he was a headbanger, and about 6 months earlier, D'Lo was dressed as a pimp with the Godfather. So tells you everything you need to know. Tag teams break up, then we just throw these two together.
Yeah, that sounds about right for the 2000 era of tag team wrestling.
Yeah, didn't last too long, and neither did they in this tag team match either. They were limited pretty quickly. But next to go out then was Too Cool. They lost to Tazz and Raven. So Grandmaster Sexy funnily goes for a sunset flip powerbomb over the top rope to put Raven through a table. Instead, his feet go through the table. The ref isn't looking, or you don't put yourself through the table. Maybe the fact that Chaz was pushed off from Scotty Too in the last fall meant that he was eliminated. D'Lo would have been fine. I don't know. But the match continued nonetheless, and ultimately, again, perhaps a bit underwhelming. Tazz and Raven just do a double suplex to Scotty Too Hotty to put him through a table, and Too Cool are out.
Yeah, you sit there and think about it now. Tazz and Raven should have been such a much bigger team, especially being like ECW originals and just the fan base that those two have alone. You would have expected these two to be a bigger thing than what they are, but yeah, it's an okay elimination. It's what it is, and this match is more about just getting the crowd hyped up for the rest of the show.
Absolutely. What did you think of the Grandmaster Sexay spot?
I mean, like, what is his botch mean? We put himself through the table.
Yeah.
I mean, like, errors happen. Yeah, it happens. Like, I'm not going to criticize the guy. The pacing of the matches in general is just so fast paced back then that I'm not going to complain about it.
No, absolutely not. And to be fair, there was the UF'd up chance, I'm sure, from the crowd. So, yeah, makes up for us having to do it for you. But then, of course, we then eventually get the Dudley Boys through this one. So, yeah, fantastic. The main people who know how to put people through tables are into the match. And no surprise, Tazz and Raven are eliminated next when Devon jumps on the top rope to put Tazz through a table with a leg drop.
Again, very underwhelming, but I suppose you're saving the big 3D through the table spot, so you need to do something. And Tazz doesn't come across as the kind of guy that wants to do big impact moves through tables, so it was probably the safest thing he was probably willing to do for a table.
Yeah, from hearing from rumours, what I've heard recently, I watched a Spike, or listened to a Spike Dudley interview, and yeah, Tazz wasn't too keen on those around that time of his career. So yeah, probably was the safest way to do it at that point. And like you say, you're saving the big Dudley spots for later in the match. Obviously, they have one more team to go through, which of course ended up being right to censor the Goodfather and Paul Buchanan. Who remembers the Goodfather? Miss the Godfather though. But Bubba powerbombs Bull Buchanan through a table, but the referee had been clotheslined moments before. The Goodfather then attacked Bubba and puts him in Bull's place. The ref comes round, calls for the bell, but the match of course restarts after a second referee comes down to ringside to tell what happened to the original referee. From that moment afterwards, of course, Bull is out of the match, and that meant the Goodfather very quickly is 3D'd through a table. The Dudley boys get the dub. Your thoughts then overall then on the final part of this? I thought real satisfaction after we thought we were really going to get a lame finish.
Yeah, I mean, I know how much you love the right to censor music, and it's amazing how this show has one of your most hated entrance musics as well as mine. We'll talk about it later when it comes up, but it's that 2000 era. It's again an opening match that you just want to get the crowd hyped up for the rest of the show, so they're all buzzing. The biggest team get the win. It's the right thing to do. I'm just surprised that there was no tag team titles or something on the line. Like, it's something I would imagine they'd have done for this spot. But yeah, I'll take it, man. It's just a good way to open the crowd up.
Absolutely. Around each match was around 3 minutes each, so about 12 minutes in total by my maths. Then your star rating then for this opening match?
Not the greatest. I went with a 2.5. Like I said, I think it lacks story. It's creative to certain points, but otherwise there were other very common table spots. But I went with a 2.5.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time for each team in this match. Like I said, 3 minutes apiece. So I mean, you've not got a lot of time to get your spots in, and really, it's only the last two teams that really connect for me. But enough to give it a 2.25 star rating for me, especially with the big pop at the end. But looking at Dave Meltzer's rating, he's give this just a standard 2-star rating for those keeping score at home.
Fair enough.
Seems fair for me as well. But we then move backstage. We see Trish and TNA discussing Trish's potential wardrobe malfunction to distract the acolytes. We then see Rikishi waiting for Stone Cold Steve Austin with a sledgehammer. He said on Heat he would run over Austin again and again till he was Stone Cold roadkill. Charming. We then get the acolytes and Lita versus Trish and TNA. And of course, we just get a video package with this one. The match is set up because of a strip poker game. Trish, of course, in the losing end, it seemed, of that there. But Trish and TNA attack Lita on SmackDown, and it was to attack the acolytes as well. Excuse me. Lita makes her way to the ring. Then as we get to the actual action itself, and it didn't go too well for her, did it? Because the acolytes were attacked backstage. Your thoughts on that attack?
Again, I presume this was some way to put the Hardys back with Lita. Like, I don't know. You'll obviously have to fill in the gaps for me. I don't know the reason why she's not with the Hardys at this point, and obviously, just in general, like, let's be honest, the matches are done. It doesn't even start. I presume it's building to something, which again, you can probably fill in the blanks of where it goes. But again, I just think it was some way of getting the Hardys back with Lita. I don't know the point. I'm pretty sure there's something later on in the show as well with these teams. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the thing is the acolytes are taken out. Obviously, then the 3-on-1 beatdown for Lita is on for Trish, and obviously, like I said, the Hardys make the save. No real explanation as to why, really. What was the fallout? Obviously, they probably had this match later on. I imagine that the faces got their comeuppance, or the heels got the comeuppance, I should say. The faces probably got their revenge back, obviously. We're in the early stages of Lita and Trish's 6-year-long rivalry. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't so keen to see this match when I saw it listed, and the fact that it didn't happen probably did me a favour. I'm not going to lie. Wasn't feeling it.
The blessing in the blessing in disguise is that we don't have to give it a match rating.
There you are. We're quite lucky with that one. And then we get Lillian Garcia, Veteran Christian, E&C for their food poisoning from nuts at the movies, but no nuts in the chunks apparently. Thanks for the detail there. The news, not the weather. Maybe it is the weather. But it meant that their nuts are just fine. So they don't compete in the Dudley Invitational, but they will be cheering on the Los Conquistadors later on. So yeah, they got away with one. They didn't have to be involved in that tables match.
Again, there's a bigger arc in story, and you really don't want arguably one of your top two tag teams going through a match like that when there's a bigger story to tell.
Absolutely, indeed. And that moves us on to our next match. The second match on the show, technically, as the other match didn't happen. It was a steel cage match, Chris Jericho versus X-Pac. Now, we had before the match, they pretty much actually started fighting on the floor, didn't they, before this match even got going. Jericho actually gets back into the cage, gets the door in his face to kick things off. We see X-Pac take a backdrop into the cage as well. X-Pac lands a Bronco Buster, attempts to climb the cage, then Jericho stops him, and that's when he pound bombs him from the top rope. That was quite a cool looking spot. X-Pac goes through the door but is dragged back in. He brings a steel chair back with him to hit Chris Jericho over the head. X-Pac then climbs the cage and Jericho pulls his leg, X-Pac doing the splits on the top of the cage, which leads Jericho to meet him on the top of that steel structure and put the walls of Jericho on and the very top of the cage. Really cool looking visual, to be fair, as well. But X-Pac does counter, manages to kick Jericho, and Jericho flips off the cage back into the ring. X-Pac then begins to go down, but Jericho kicks the cage, and that's when we see X-Pac then does the splits on the cage door. Jericho then goes through the door and actually gets the floor to the victory. I'm going to be honest, a lot of spots there that I actually quite enjoyed in this match, many of them in the second half of the match. I thought that this was quite creative, especially for the time period. Steel cages are not my favourite type of stipulation, but these two did something quite good for this match.
Why were they in a steel cage? That was my question. I was like, I don't understand, like, why, of all people, X-Pac and Jericho are in a steel cage match. Like, there was no, like, unless I missed something, I never saw the reason why this was happening. But look, again, props to them. They give. I thought it was a really decent match. It was entertaining. Like, the spots, like Jericho taking that gnarly flip off the top of the cage is insane. Like, that's still 15 foot to flip and land on your back. That's gonna hurt like hell. And even the finish where the door splits X-Pac, I just think is a great finish. I think, again, like you said, very creative, very intuitive. I enjoyed this, man. I gave this 3 stars.
Yeah, I'll give this a 3-star as well. I thought this was a good little match, and I was just, I don't know how to, when you see 2 high flyers in a steel cage match, my initial thought is like, well, you're eliminating a lot of what they can do best because they're high flyers. Obviously Jericho has been renowned to do many different styles throughout the years, but this is an earlier part of his career. X-Pac is a high flyer as well, and it just felt like you're taking some of the element of their work away, but actually they've made it work to their advantage in this match, and credit to them for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with that. The cage almost felt pointless because I don't understand what it was needed for. But like you said, they make the most of it. Again, I completely breezed over the powerbomb, by the way, because that's a standing powerbomb from the top rope that he drops on him, and it's like, that's again almost 15 foot in height, and to take that kind of bump is gnarly, man. So yeah, well impressed.
Well impressed as well. This match goes for 10 minutes 40 seconds, and Dave Meltzer gave this a 3.5-star rating, so half a star more than me and you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I can
understand. Certainly for the time period as well, very understandable also. We then move on. In the meantime, Rikishi goes to see Commissioner Mick Foley. Rikishi wants to know where Stone Cold Steve Austin is. Remember, Austin hasn't arrived yet. Foley said if he doesn't come, he will raise Rikishi's hand in the way of forfeit. And we then know we're supposed to have Eddie Guerrero versus Billy Gunn for the IC title, but Eddie Guerrero isn't cleared. So Foley makes a tag team match instead with Eddie Guerrero's new friends, The Right to Censor. That leads us then to having Mr. Ass, Billy Gunn, with China going against Stevie Richards and Val Venus. That's a random tag team match if there ever was one, in my personal opinion. So yeah, we pretty much, there's not really much to say about this match. We'll just go straight to the finish. The other members of Right to Censor come to ringside towards the end to attack Billy Gunn. China looks like she's about to hit the pedigree on Val Venus. From that moment, Eddie Guerrero comes from out of nowhere, hits China with the flowers, which we later learn is wrapped around a lead pipe. Right to Censor pick up the victory. Obviously, as we can tell from this moment, Eddie Guerrero and China no longer an item, which they was very popular to be together in the year 2000. So this one's all done now. This seems to be the start as well, leading to China and Right to Censor, which of course is China versus Ivory for WrestleMania 17. And yeah, Billy Gunn and Eddie Guerrero safe for another day. But not gonna lie, probably my least favorite match of the show. Yeah,
it was probably the most safely structured match. You have China, who spends most of the time on the apron looking for the hot tag, and ultimately ends up being the full person that takes the pinfall because of it. Like you said, with all the story beats of Eddie Guerrero. Yeah, I mean, the most irritating part is that all I can hear is JR banging on about China's Playboy appearance, and I'm like, I forget this is 2000.
Yeah, that's one of the negative parts when you go back to 2000. It's it's a different time period altogether. With
we were all young once.
different selling points and things to get people interested in the product. It's not necessarily the way they would go down for your family safe style in 2025. But yes, either way, star rating for you for this match, if there's nothing more to add.
Generously gave it 2.25. I thought it was slightly better than an average match, and the fact that China gets the hot tag and is at least given some sort of a rub and is made to look half decent in a match with 3 other guys, I'll take it.
Fair play to you. 1.5 for me. I was bored. As I say, it's my least favorite match of the show. But saying that, it's probably not my worst racing match of the show, but still, it's my least favorite. If you get my drift, you'll understand when we get there. But 7 minutes 10 seconds and 1.5 as well from Dave Meltzer. Just looking through that there, I'm surprised there. I don't tend to look at those until it's actually action time. So fun times.
Yeah, no, just I can't expect it with it. It's not. It's just it's a TV quality match. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. Triple H is backstage with Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. Stephanie wants to accompany the game to ringside against Chris Benoit. Triple H says no, and she gives him a tape about the crippler crossface. Steph is off to help her business partner, Kurt Angle. Triple H says to tell Kurt if anything happens to Steph, he will put Kurt out of business for good. Loved that line there with their business relationship that they have. A long-term storyline around that time period was Triple H, Stephanie, and Kurt Angle, which was definitely one of the fun hotbeds of the freeway love angle back in the year 2000.
Yeah, and I think the timing is perfect. The fact that Stephanie's obviously just been announced as the first inductee for the Hall of Fame next year, and we do this as a retro review, and she is a prominent figure on this card and in a story. It's just, I would say ironic, but you can see why now that she's being inducted into the Hall of Fame. But yeah, again, back to the story. Again, this seemed to go on forever, though. I think that was my biggest problem with this, is just it felt like it never ended.
No, it didn't. I remember that at least to the Royal Rumble 2001 was the preliminary time it went on till. But it's one of those that did drag for a little bit. I won't lie to you with that one, but one that sort of felt like a long-time storyline, just purely because of the fact that Austin was out for about 8 or 9 months after being run over at Survivor Series to 1999, to return then to look for the person that hunted him down. Rikishi would later be revealed. We've got the video package for you here. Pretty much Rikishi, when he said it, he had no remorse, and he did it for The Rock, which was to The Rock's surprise as well. We actually found then that Rikishi said he felt good and would do it again. He actually tries to run down Steve Austin, but misses on the go-home show in the same arena that Austin was hit down the first time. And then No Holds Barred was made by Foley. Anything goes and is legal. Rikishi destroys Austin's pickup truck. And the bottom line is, whatever Austin does, it's all legal. Getting into the match itself, I've got to say, of all the matches up to this point, this was the match I was probably most invested in, and they made sure that I was hooked to the screen throughout. Rikishi comes out, says Austin's afraid of him. Remember, Austin's not there. Foley comes out. Before he can speak, though, we get Austin's music hitting, which of course then sends the crowd into a frenzy. Austin drives in the same pickup truck that Rikishi had been destroying on Raw. He speeds through the arena and straight to the ring, gets out there, and the match begins on the floor. A brawl as well, and of course the car door being straight thrown in. Well, Rikishi being thrown into the head, his head into the car door as well. Austin sends Rikishi flying over the announce table. They fight through the crowd. We see Austin whipping Rikishi with his belt. He ties a rope around the neck and chokes him. Yes, it's a hanging position. Austin puts JR's cowboy hat on as well, and it's Rikishi with a chair, and Rikishi's busted open. Austin then misses of a sledgehammer and goes into his pickup truck. Austin hits another chair shot into the head of Rikishi, sending Rikishi into the back of that pickup truck as well. Austin then reverses out of the arena with Rikishi on the back. They end up to the parking lot, and that's when Austin positions Rikishi against the wall. It looks like he's going to actually run his truck into Rikishi into that wall. Thankfully, a police car gets into the way as Austin begins to drive, and Austin goes straight into that police car. Austin goes for a second bump into the police car, and that's when we see a whole squad of cop cars arriving. There must have been about 12 according to commentary, and of course they get out of the car and they arrest Stone Cold Steve Austin. To say that this match is brutal, it is violent, it has all the meanings of making you feel uncomfortable And I think it succeeds at every level. I think the only disappointing part is obviously there's no actual result in a no holds barred match, which of course usually sucks when it comes to WWE when they have stipulations where anything is meant to go. But I think we can forgive attempting to run someone over into a wall that probably would have been fatality.
Yeah,
I don't think you would have needed a 3 count at the end of it. So yeah, I mean, your thoughts on this one?
One, Austin has his Disturbed remix entrance music, which I detest. Honestly, can't stand it. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, I just hope he'd lose. I know I knew the result already, but I was just hoping he'd lose. To be honest, it feels like pretty much like a one-sided beatdown for the majority of it. And then, like you said, you get the ending, the attempted vehicular manslaughter with the car, and then, hey, props to the was it New York this is in? That police response time is crazy. Like, you said 12 cars turn up in about 10 seconds. That's insane. Like, you couldn't get that anywhere in the world. So props to those guys. But, dude, match rating, I had to give it a dud. I didn't get a winner. Why am I going to rate a match if I don't even get a winner? Like, don't get me wrong, for purposes, it's a killer match. It's a dud. I don't get a winner. I don't get a result. I don't know who's won this. I mean, again, you'd have to fill me in. I don't know if they replayed this, but if this was meant to be the culmination of this story, if I don't get a winner, what's the point?
So after this, I mean, Rikishi's whole thing throughout this storyline is I did it for The Rock, and obviously it's trying to paint as if The Rock is the guy that told him to do this. Obviously, Kurt Angle's trying to big it up as well, which we'll go further into as the video continues. But what obviously ultimately ends up being Triple H is the guy that did it. So the show after this is Survivor Series. It's Austin. It's Triple H. It's the infamous, you remember the story of the DX bus, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I want to say that DX is back for a bit. And yeah, I mean, it's what, actually, to be fair, it's absolute carnage at Survivor Series as well. But I think to a point, Austin kind of got his revenge here. But I would say that Rikishi isn't booked the best. If you are going to give this guy a fresh gimmick, fresh music, fresh attitude, this guy is the guy that destroyed and run down Austin. I do wonder, in hindsight, and we are talking 25 years later, and Austin's the hottest thing in the company, and obviously once you find out, you want to get the match going pronto, but would it not have made more sense to have built Rikishi up over a number of weeks and months for this match in a position this guy now is an unstoppable heel, and then to the point then Austin comes back and then puts Rikishi in his place? I feel like Rikishi gets this big reveal, big moment, big heel turn, gets completely ruined by Austin. Within a couple of months, is thrown off Hell in a Cell by The Undertaker, and then just falls off the Hell in a Cell from the main event down back into the mid card. It's not a good time for Rikishi, really. As much as it should have been his breakout moment of his career.
Yeah, I mean, he almost feels like he should have got a Mark Henry run, like a guy that never really gets that close to a world title, but then ends up winning it once, and he didn't even actually necessarily need to win it. I mean, I think is it 9 months between the actual incident and the reveal? I think you could have easily dropped a month, 6 weeks, had the reveal, get Rikishi, like you said, destroying some people, even get him in the opportunity of a title match, which is when you then do the Austin return, and Austin ultimately ends up costing him the title match, and then you can build to this. And yeah, I think they could have done a lot better with the Rikishi build, but yeah, it's one of them things. And back then, you could always kind of see the guys that were destined to never be world champion, and Rikishi's booking was just always that. He was never destined to be world champion, unfortunately.
Dude was in the fold. Like, it was never going to happen. The stink face was
in people's faces. Yeah, exactly. He was a comedy act for most of the time, especially when he was with Too Cool.
Absolutely attraction. That's what he was. He was, there to bring entertainment to the fans. He wasn't there to be the face of the company. And unfortunate for him that once he got serious, it still didn't materialize. But for me, there was actually a bit of a flaw though with who run over Stone Cold Steve Austin. I've watched 1999 back. Rikishi is not really a prominent face on TV in Survivor Series 1999. He sort of appears like the Raw or SmackDown, like not long after Survivor Series, a couple of weeks later. And for more context as well, I think over the last or the first SmackDown of 99 or 2000, Rikishi is an opponent of Triple H going for the WWF Championship.
And then I suppose if you take the context that it was never Rikishi originally anyway, and Rikishi was just claiming for it to be him, and he's essentially trying to benefit from someone else's work. Essentially, Rikishi's trying to steal his way into a main event scene. He's trying to steal himself a way to get to a world title. I can kind of believe it like that. I know what you mean. There's always continuity errors and stuff like that, but I mean, look, we can sit there and digress about loads of stuff that's never. Do you know what I mean? It never plays out the way it is. Like, look at the John Cena Hill run this year. Do you know what I mean? There's just stuff that never happens like that, and yeah, unless you're like you, unfortunately, and you're one of them people that really studies it. I mean, it can be taken so many ways, but I'm not gonna complain about it. Like I said, I think it's one of the biggest. It is one of the biggest stories that WWE have ever done, because Austin does go off TV for 9 months because of, I think he was having surgery done, wasn't he? And it's not like they dropped it. It was a consistent thing for 9 months. Who was it? Until we actually get the Rikishi reveal. Do you know what I mean? They never dropped the ball with it, which again, long-term storytelling at its finest, I suppose.
Absolutely. And to be fair, I mean, so many times since when we have these type of storylines, it does get dropped. So fair play, there was commitment to this and never let it go. Why would they? I mean, it's the biggest star of the company. So, you know, like you said, it's a Mount Rushmore of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin. So it was right that they went through and they committed to it. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, I would not have seen it had I not gone and revisited 1999 on the network, to be fair, while the network was still a thing. And only did that because back in the day we never got the original SmackDown, so there was a reason for me to go back and watch some of those. So yeah, wouldn't have realised otherwise, but still, just thought it was a fun little ingredient to bring to you there. But I'm going to give this a 3-star. I was hooked. I was invested the whole way through. So yeah, even though I agree with you, this would have got a higher rating had we got a result. I'm still going to give it because I found myself. It's hard these days to keep the attention the same on the screen for the entire 100% of the time. I did not look away anywhere once, so credit to them for that. They had me hooked throughout this. To see them, go on. Sorry, for final words before we go.
Yeah, my dad rating is obviously it's a joke, and your rating probably is the correct correct answer. But yeah, I'm trying to make light of a worst case scenario almost. Like we would have liked an answer, and like I said, I don't even think these two ever face each other after this. So for this to be the blow off, it's just underwhelming for me. But like I said, you can't take your eyes off of it, and just across the show in general, there's something for everyone. Like there's just different things, and this was, aside from the main event, this is probably the most one where you had to pay attention because there was just so much going on, so many gnarly headshots with a chair, the violence, the sledgehammer through the car windscreen, stuff that they do very rarely, but it just captivates people and keeps them drawn.
Absolutely. To be fair, I enjoyed this more now than I did in 2000. Like I always used to think, like this is bad for Rikishi, and like you said, the blow off match didn't go the way you expected it to, and always had a bit of a sour taste of it. Enjoyed it more now, and it's interesting because usually it can be the other way around with a lot of wrestling. When you watch the old stuff, you think, I love that. Then you watch it now, it's not quite the same. But
yeah, I think it's probably more down to the fact that we aren't concurrently watching a story develop, and it's like we're just going back and appreciating this one match at this particular time, whereas like you said, you go back 25 years and you're heavily invested in this story that's been going on for nearly a year, and you want a payoff, you want the result. So yeah, I totally understand what you mean by it being more enjoyable now than it was back then.
Yeah, absolutely, indeed. This match was just shy of 10 minutes, 9 minutes and 21 seconds. Dave Meltzer gave this a 2.25 star rating. So lower than mine, but higher than yours. That does seem like a fair rating, to be fair. But yes, we move on in the meantime, and we need some comic relief after all of that. So how about William Regal versus Naked Mideon for the WWE European Championship? A match that was based around as well that William Regal saying he would only defend the title if Mideon wasn't naked. And the story of the match, I kid you not, is that Mideon wrestles better the more he gets naked. So he got thrown over the top rope, which then made him take off his vest top. He was wearing, I think, like an Undertaker style, American Badass style vest top. Took that off, and then after a while, we took the pants off as well. And of course, thank you, Netflix. We had a bit of a blur for the rest of the time. Didn't have to worry about what we may or may not see. And obviously, William Regal gets the advantage, looks to put the Regal stretch on, but then realizes what he's going to be laying on top of. So instead, it's the Regal cutter instead to get the victory. Your thoughts on William Regal versus Naked Mideon, and was you disappointed not to see the Naked Man?
I was very thankful that there was blurring to that, because I would have had nightmares tonight thinking about it. But look, I purely took the enjoyment out of William Regal for this because I didn't really appreciate him back in 2000, and so the fact we get to go back and watch it and watch the character work, even like with Jericho's promo before his match with X-Pac, just going back and watching some of this old stuff and just trying to soak it all in again, because it was, for what it was at the time, it was probably nothing, but it's so much more enjoyable now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I didn't appreciate Regal in his heyday either, which I now feel was criminal when you look back over it, how good and how talented he really was.
Yeah, we're British and we don't appreciate the British wrestler.
It's scandalous to say out loud, really, but it's the truth. But no, I've got to say the facial moment when he realizes, like, I'm not putting the stretch on Mideon. Look, there's a naked man on the canvas. It's generally quite amusing to see. No one can do facials like Regal when it comes to that kind of thing. But look, Regal picks up the victory. I'm going to be generous. It's a really bad match, but I'm going to give it a 1-star rating just because of the fact that it genuinely was just William Regal himself, I think, earned that star for me.
That's exactly the right answer. That 1 star is purely for William Regal, because Mideon gets nothing from me.
No, absolutely not. And I've looked at Dave Meltzer's rating, minus. We're in the minus territory, minus half a star rating. This is a candidate for worst match ever. But I think, judging off me and you, we're not going to put it as the worst match ever, based on this.
No, definitely not.
And for you, not even the worst match in No Mercy history. That would probably go to Fabulous Moolah versus Ivory.
Oh, 100%.
Well, we move on in the meantime, and I love this. Kurt Angle's backstage interview with The Rock, which obviously has been heavily edited. So basically, multiple different interview clips involving The Rock with different backgrounds, different clothes on The Rock. So Kurt can pretty much just paint a picture of what he wants to do. And long and the short of it is he wants to paint Rock as someone who got Rikishi to run over Stone Cold Steve Austin and is accepting of losing to Kurt Angle in the main event. It's definitely worth a YouTube search just for it on its own. I'm sure you'll find it. It's so entertaining. It's so funny. It's classic Kurt Angle.
Oh, 100%. Like it. I was watching it and I was like, they really need to do more of this stuff. Like, we see it so many times in like different shows, but when you do it in wrestling, it's just so much more funnier, because especially Kurt Angle, his character work is just phenomenal, man. The way he just sells everything and the way he turns it, like he's trying to be the most dead serious comedian ever. It's just fantastic.
I just don't know how he does it so well. And there's another wrestler, to be fair, in his prime in the 2000s, I did not appreciate enough. It wasn't until about 2004, 2005, around the area that I really started, maybe slightly before, but appreciate Kurt Angle a lot more. I think we got to the Ruthless Aggression era, but in this era, I did not appreciate Kurt Angle to the level I should have done.
Definitely, I was the same, man. Like, do you know what it was? You had people like The Rock and Austin on there, and I think it's really hard to be invested in, especially people like Angle, who are technically probably better wrestlers. But when you've got bigger characters like Angle, I think for me has always been a great comedic character. But then when you switch him to a serious dynamic, I kind of lose the interest in him a bit. And I think that's probably where my disconnect comes from with Kurt Angle. But yeah, going back and watching his matches, they're just, man, they're so good. And he always got the win when you didn't want him to win. Like the 6-man Hell in a Cell match. No one wanted Angle to win that, and guess who walked away as champion?
It's perfect for heel heat. He's doing his job perfectly. It's amazing. Someone else that's doing the job perfectly on the night, Kevin Kelly with the Los Conquistadors. I can't wait to talk about this. Lots of questions to the Conquistadors, and their answers were simply C and DOS. I forgot about the Los Conquistadors, and they're absolutely brilliant. I know we've had these conversations before. People who watch these streams in 2025 would talk about us talking about El Grande Americano and the suggestions that maybe there could have been one Chad Gable. And these days, maybe it's like a Ludwig Kaiser or a Pete Dunne or a Tyler Bate. Is there a suggestion the Los Conquistadors could have been Edge and Christian?
Possibly. We'll never know. I don't think it was ever revealed. I mean, like, as far as I know, it was Matt and Jeff Hardy, but I've never seen Matt and Jeff Hardy fight Matt and Jeff Hardy, which is apparently what we're about to get.
It's a Spider-Man meme waiting, isn't it? Let's be fair. Los Conquistadors going for those tag team championships against the Hardy Boys. What a time to be alive, in the year 2000. So, to give a bit of what people are unaware of the Los Conquistadors, they're dressed in gold outfits, gold bodysuits with lucha libre masks, and their lucha libre style is doing forward and backward roly-polies.
It's so good. It's so stupid, but so good at the same time. Yeah, look, genuinely two of the best characters you'll probably get for 2000 because it's just stupid, man. Like, I sit here and think now, man, imagine Grande Americano just did all this. He wasn't a serious wrestler. He just did roly-polies. Oh, man, I'd die.
It's really hilarious. And to be fair, I'm sure that El Grande is a takeoff of this as well.
Absolutely.
And like, for me, I'm just going to throw it out there. Los Conquistadors, bring him into Triple R. I need that in 2025 for Worlds Collide.
100%. I want to see Psycho Clown and I forget his tag team partner go up against the Los Conquistadors. And the best part is you can use anyone on the roster. Finn Balor and JD McDonough. Do you know what I mean? You could use Los Garza. There's loads of teams that you could use that for.
Hey, if only the AEW contracts to one Christian Cage and Adam Copeland would expire, do you reckon he'd come back and do it one more time?
Oh, 100%. But to be fair, I'm loving them too as they are at the minute.
Yeah, I wouldn't change a thing for them at the moment. But going into the match itself then, and, do you know what? To be fair, I would have not been able to tell for most of the match that it was Edge and Christian. It was only towards the end of the match we see Christian run to the second rope to dive over to the floor, the reverse DDT. I love the moment when Matt Hardy tries to unveil one of the Conquistadors by taking the mask off, only to find another mask on underneath. Thought that was brilliant. Christian Dos hits the Unprettier on Matt for the win, and that's how we get new tag team champions.
Look, the problem I think I had with this was just didn't care for the Los Conquistadors. I think that was the one problem, because otherwise it's a solid tag team match. Like, it has high spots, it's entertaining in places, you have these goofball wrestlers. I just don't think the crowd were invested, and I think that's ultimately what let it down. But otherwise, I think this is a solid match.
I mean, to be fair, I agree with you. I think the only thing missing, because the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian faced at No Mercy 1999, the thing that made that match just tip the iceberg a little bit more was the ladders. Maybe that was missing here for the Conquistadors to show more of the Lucha Libre skills. Wouldn't you love to see a roly-poly off the ladder? But yeah, serious note though, I thought this was fine. It's not the best Hardys match with Edge and Christian you've ever seen in your life, but the Conquistadors gimmick is
I respect the
fun.
fact that they tried to hide from 99% of the match that it was Edge and Christian. Like, I think that's what I take mostly from it. Like, and again, I think that, like you said, it's not the best match, but you're trying to mask who these two guys are. Everyone's kind of clued up. Everyone kind of knows who it is. But the fact that they're trying to keep kayfabe at this point and like almost protect the fact that it's not them. I respect that.
Absolutely. 2.5 star rating for me.
Same, 2.5 stars.
I think that's a fair one for those. And just to say, backstage after the Conquistadors win those tag team titles, Edge and Christian celebrate with them. Champagne and Coronas. They'll have a title match on Raw, and that's when obviously you learned that the Hardy Boys were then dressed up as the Conquistadors instead of Edge and Christian. Glorious stuff indeed. But yeah, this match 10 minutes and 52 seconds, and Dave Meltzer's rating was, believe it or not, 3/4 of a star rating. Big Dave did not like this one.
It's a solid tag team match. You can't be giving it 3/4 of a star. I think me and Dave are going to fall out over that one. Absolutely.
Well, he'll be infamous on X on that one, I think, to be fair. But yeah, we see footage then of Austin's truck being taken away, and obviously the damaged police car as well. Triple H is backstage watching the tape of Stephanie McMahon Helmsley gave him. He seems to have noticed something. It's probably the crippled crossface. It leads us then to our next match, which is Triple H versus Chris Benoit. Benoit. The video package for this one, Benoit had headbutt Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. Stephanie then slapped him the next week on Raw after Benoit asked her how her head was. The following Raw after that, we see Benoit have his hands on Stephanie before Triple H breaks it up. It distracts and costs the game a number one contenders match against Kurt Angle. And then we see multiple brawls on the weeks leading to No Mercy. The match is a physical one. Dare I say hard-hitting, in places technical. Benoit ultimately gets the crossface on Triple H for a long time, but the game gets up. Uses a form of Death Valley Driver to drop Benoit. Stephanie comes out and slaps Benoit. She also distracts the ref when Benoit is trying to get the crossface on the game once again. He lobos Chris and then hits the pedigree and gets the 1-2-3. Thoughts on the match?
Do you know what? This is the reason why I appreciate doing these rewinds, because I hated Triple H matches back in the day. Like, obviously, me being a massive tag team fan, you start this show off with a tag team elimination gauntlet match, and it's like, I didn't appreciate the style of Triple H and his form of wrestling and his storytelling. So to go back and watch this, I definitely enjoyed this more as well now than I would have done 25 years ago. And that's what I think I take from it, the fact that it's a technically sound match. Like, I think like they're trying to build a story, they're trying to do whatever they can. You then introduce Stephanie into that story and how she helps them play the finish. I think this is technically a sound match. And I just appreciate going back and watching this, because I just didn't like Triple H matches back in the day. I always used to think they were boring because I never appreciated the real art of wrestling.
Yeah, it's fair. I did like some Triple H matches back in the day, but he does have some up and down periods throughout his career. I was a big fan of Benoit, the in-ring wrestler at this time period. And I thought these two put together a good match. They had a good chemistry throughout the year 2000, and this was another solid match between the two. There's not really too much to say on it, really. This is a time period where I think Benoit is flirting around the main event scene in his first year in WWE, but seems to always lose when he gets to these big matches. He lost to The Rock at Fully Loaded. He's now lost to Triple H here. And obviously this just carries on Triple H's momentum before the inevitable heel turn once again, because Triple H is kind of a face in this match, which is quite interesting as well. But he's about to turn heel again to go against Austin for Survivor Series. So, yeah, it's the right result.
Yeah, it is the right result. And like, if you're talking about Benoit's booking, for me, he's almost kind of like how LA Knight is booked currently. Like, he's in these main event spots, but isn't currently getting the big wins. And you can, like, obviously, hindsight is great, and we can see how Benoit's career then goes, and he goes on to be world champion and stuff. So it gives me hope that LA Knight is on that same trajectory where he's going to be in these main event spots to ultimately be a world champion at some point.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say to that. I hope the day comes, because the megastar, I think it's the right time to start pushing him towards the top. And for those that haven't seen already, when this video is out, there's a short available now to go and check that detail out of why. And Stephen, I think it's the right time. Start rating for this match, sorry, before we move on.
I'd probably say a 3. Like, it isn't it's technically sound, but I think with everything else that's gone on this show, this is kind of almost like one of the most underwhelming matches in terms of crowd reaction, and I think that helps it. Not helps it, but I think it hinders it. It suffers because of it, because we've just had like all this excitement, these bells and whistles, someone nearly run over the car, and then you go to just a normal wrestling match. So I went with a 3.
Fair. I've gone with 3.25. Thought it was a solid match for what it was. And yeah, like I said, not much more to add to it. It closes this chapter off so they can move on to their next programs, obviously, after this. And this match needs 20 minutes long, just shy of a few seconds short, shy of 19 minutes. Dave Meltzer gives this a 4-star rating.
Again, fair, but Dave, obviously, at that point, that's what he does for a living, and he's going to be sitting and rating entirely because it's a great wrestling match.
Absolutely. We're going to move on then to what will be the main event of the show, The Rock versus Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship. And of course, Stephanie McMahon Helmsley is ringside with Kurt as well. First, the video package for this one. Obviously, a reminder, Kurt actually becoming number one contender, beating Triple H with the help of Chris Benoit. Obviously, with Stephanie being the reason that's Triple H was cost this match along with Benoit. Trips calls her a liability at ringside, and she says that she shouldn't be ringside with him anymore. Steph then actually helps Kurt Angle win on SmackDown and take the chair away from Rock, which means Kurt Angle gets to do the Angle's Olympic Slam to Rock. Kurt Angle asked for Stephanie to be permanently in her corner, or in his corner, for matches. The Rock, though, doesn't quite look himself. Apparently, he's got a lot on his mind. That's because Rikishi ran over Stone Cold. But he said one man's helped him snap out of it, and that is Kurt Angle. Kurt, of course, has been accusing The Rock of aiding Rikishi. And, of course, then we see lots of beatdowns going on to The Rock from Kurt Angle with the help of Stephanie, but The Rock gets some revenge as well before getting into this show. Thoughts on the video package?
Again, well done, well constructed. It's just a shame that you've got it on after what is ultimately the bigger story. I think that's probably what hinders this one, is that Austin Rikishi was supposed to be this big blow off, but regardless, still a good video package, gives you all the information you really need in terms of why these two are going to have these matches.
It's interesting because what I like about this, and it's a recurring theme throughout the show, is a lot of the storylines are intertwined. Obviously, we have this match here, Triple H, Benoit, Austin Rikishi. They're all kind of intertwined in their own way. Yeah,
but that's you got, like you said, the 3 that you say there, but then you had even Right to Censor. They get involved in multiple matches across the night. DX have obviously not in this show specifically, but again they're involved in multiple different storylines as well. So well done storytelling. Shocking.
Absolutely. And to be fair, just to mention this as well, a little nugget I've just noticed here: Rock and Angle, there's Triple H and Benoit, Austin Rikishi. Take Benoit out of the mix, you put The Undertaker in. Are we building towards our Hell in a Cell Armageddon match?
Yeah. It's a fair point. I don't. Yeah. It's just a shame Benoit didn't get in there now, because you kind of almost feel like this whole pay-per-view would have been a really good story beat for that match.
You would have thought perhaps maybe it would work, yeah. But Benoit does win the title on that show, though, so he wins the IC title from Billy Gunn. So I guess perhaps it's not too bad for him, I guess, end of the day. But going into this match anyway, we learned from the Fink during the ring announcements that this match will be no disqualification. JR confirms it on his headset that this is correct. Pretty much this goes straight all throughout the ringside area quite quickly. Obviously going from announcers tables, or going off of them, we should say at least, going to technical areas. Kurt being thrown through the entrance board, both front and back, which was quite entertaining. Kurt then throwing The Rock into some camera settings on the floor as well. The Rock then pulling a cardboard cutout to punch the cardboard cutout to punch Kurt Angle. Thought it was really fun. We see as well The Rock pull Kurt Angle, so he goes balls first into the ring post and then uses steel chair on Kurt's angle. Then The Rock puts on the sharpshooter, and then Kurt is actually tapping out, but Stephanie is distracting the ref. Now, just to say very quickly, interesting note with that one, because Stephanie could just come and break up, I guess, but maybe she doesn't want to get into anything physical with The Rock. But it's a good use here that she distracts. But a couple of moments later, obviously, The Rock chases Stephanie for that distraction. Kurt cuts it off, does a belly to belly. But there's another moment where Stephanie distracts the referee, and she does it by throwing in the championship. And then Kurt uses that championship. This match is no DQ. You do not need to cover the referee. He can just use the bell. Why? NXT, why?
I mean, I don't know, blinded by stupidity, maybe. just a sure guess. Look, sometimes the thing is like I said, we go back now and watch these, and we're kind of like, we've done this so many times before, where we pick these things apart, where we go, but that's not needed. It's a no DQ. Why would you do that? And you just sit and think to yourself, like, I would put it down to Stephanie being a numpty, I suppose, and distracting the ref when it was not needed. I don't know. It's just one of the things. Do you know what it may even be? I'll tell you what, I could actually, I've got a plausible one to get out of this. Because the Fink announces on the way to the ring, Stephanie forgets, because it's only just been announced. If she'd have known in the build a week earlier that this was going to be a no holds barred match, she'd have had it memorized that it was a no DQ, so she wouldn't have to worry about it. So I'm going to put it down to the short-term announcement of the change of match type.
It does make it feel like this was a last-minute decision, that this was a spot that was initially planned for this match, and they kept it in despite the fact that they probably didn't need to from this point onwards. So, very good point. I take that fully on board.
I'll go with a kayfabe answer.
Yeah, absolutely. But Kurt Angle was busted open over his left eye after suffering a superplex on the top rope from The Rock. Kurt misses one of his moonsaults as well from the top rope a short time afterwards. The Rock's in the position for the People's Elbow, but Stephanie gets in The Rock's face. That's when she eats a rock bottom. Kurt stops the People's Elbow happening at the last second. This leads to Triple H coming out, going for Kurt Angle. Like he said, if anything happened to Stephanie, Kurt would be put out of business. He was put outside the ring for sure. But then he turns and pedigrees The Rock. He takes his wife away afterwards. There's a 2 count from Kurt Angle, who slimes into the ring to try and get himself that pinfall, but it didn't quite work. This leads to Rikishi coming out, and of course Kurt Angle confronts him and gets a right hand for his troubles. It looks like Rikishi is helping The Rock. Rock hits the rock bottom on Kurt Angle. It's a 2 count. Rikishi then runs into the corner into Kurt Angle, but just in the last second, Kurt pulls the Rock into the corner as well, so all of them get squashed. Rikishi goes for the super kick, but misses Kurt Angle and hits the Rock. He then goes for Kurt Angle again, completely misses, and Angle hits the Olympic Slam on Rikishi. Followed by that, he hits the Olympic Slam on the Rock as well, and picks up the 1, 2, 3, and shock, horror to everyone at this point. A guy that had been in the company for less than a year at that point seemed unheard of, won the WWE Championship. That's right, Kurt Angle, 11 months after his debut, is the top guy in WWE, defeating The Rock. Your thoughts of this main event match?
I love this. I thought it was fantastic. It's not necessarily overbooked in places, but yet the near falls in this match from everything that happens, like the interference, the belt shot, Rikishi. Just what a way to finish a show. Like, I think this was great. Just like, even like you said, it should be a more of a wrestling spectacle because it is Kurt Angle, but it's such a sports entertainment match, and it's so much more entertaining than I remember it being. And I'm sitting there thinking back to it now when I was younger, and I was like, you want The Rock to win because The Rock is the good guy. You don't want Angle to win, and you get that Angle finish. And again, now I can appreciate it a lot more now than I did 25 years ago. But just generally thoroughly entertaining. Loved it. Would recommend anyone to go and watch this because it's, like I said, it's just not overly booked, and it's just entertaining, and the crowd are on the edge of their seats, and that's what you want. You want those brilliant near falls that draw you in, that make you think that The Rock's won or Angle's won. It's fantastic.
I 100% agree with you. For me, I did not appreciate this match back in the year 2000. I think simply because it was all about the result. I did not want Kurt Angle to win that title in the year 2000. I was shocked The Rock lost this match back then. And for Kurt to then be the man for about 4 months or so, 5 months after this, before losing the title back to The Rock at No Way Out 2001, which is a solid steel cage match, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. But yeah, anyway, that's another details for another day. This match is fantastic. I think the no DQ stipulation really, really worked. You would have thought it would be a disadvantage for someone like Kurt Angle back in the day at that point, but really shows his versatility. And actually, from Kurt Angle's debut to this point, you can see how far Kurt Angle has come in less than 12 months to get to this position. It just goes to show what an incredible athlete he is. So well-rounded, so entertaining, such a good technical wrestler as well. In all, 25 years later, you can see that there's an argument this title could have been put on this guy sooner. He's that good. And yeah, just thoroughly enjoyed this. This is great. Again, it plays for all the storylines that's going through, all the different people intertwined. It's probably going to link to this Armageddon Hell in a Cell match. Again, probably didn't see that so well 25 years ago, but you see it perfectly now. And it's just great stuff.
Yeah, I'd like to say I love this. You look at certain people that have come through the business. You look at people like Brock Lesnar, who come in and make that instant impact. You look at people like Roman Reigns, who come in and are majorly forced down your throat due to that's who the company want to be their next guy. But then you go back and look at Kurt Angle, and you think that the rise that the guy's had, like, I'm still very fond of his Royal Rumble match against Tazz when he debuts, and the build that Angle has, and just even his backstory, like being a legitimate Olympic gold medalist, which again is a very, like, I don't think they'd probably ever actually had an Olympic gold medalist wrestle for WWE before, so he has credibility about him as well. But yeah, this is fantastic. This is so good, and I'm sure I saw somewhere about an argument for this being potentially match of the year. I think they say on the show. I think actually Kurt Angle says it in the fake Rock interview that they talk about being match of the year. Look, I'm close to it. Like, without seeing every match from 2000, this is up there though.
It would be in a conversation, I'm pretty sure, for that time period. And I mean, Kurt Angle said, you know, just to go through the journey of Kurt Angle from debuting Survivor Series 1999, Sean Stasiak is his opponent. It's a very underwhelming match, politely to put it. It's not the most exciting one you ever get to start off, but within 6 weeks, the start of the year 2000, Kurt Angle wins the European Championship, which is just great to see in itself on a random SmackDown. He then wins the IC title. Yeah, he's still. I think at that point he'd lost the undefeatedness to Tazz, but yeah, undefeated. But yeah, you mentioned the Rumble match with Tazz, which is awesome. He gets protected by Stephanie from Day Dot as well through the McMahon Helmsley era that's going on every single week. You know, they're putting all the baby faces through it, but Kurt gets the soft touch from Stephanie, and Triple H hates it. You know, it's just a fun television to watch. And yeah, like I say, he wins the European title, he wins the IC title. The triple threat match with the two matches at WrestleMania 16 or WrestleMania 2000 with Benoit and Jericho is always one that I fondly remember. My favorite match outside of the ladder match of that Mania. You go on and see then obviously Kurt Angle wins King of the Ring. He has matches then with The Undertaker Fully Loaded. He's in the top main event match at SummerSlam with The Rock and Triple H. You know, he's done so much in that first year just to get to this position and win the title there. It's just incredible. One of the best rookie years if they've ever seen one in WWE history.
I don't think there's probably anyone out there who's had a better year than Kurt Angle.
I think the only one that could rival it, and you mentioned his name a couple of minutes ago, is Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, and even then, who was one of the guys that Brock Lesnar faced in his first year? I think his name was Kurt Angle, I believe. Absolutely
indeed. I'm sure there's modern people shouting at the screen. So what about AJ Styles in 2016? Yeah, he had a fantastic opening year as well. So yeah, he'll be another name we'll throw into the mix there. But let's go into our final thoughts then when it comes into this show then, No Mercy 2000. So what we like to do is we like to throw up these little subjects to throw out, quick answers, and all in all, we can see if we can come to an agreement at the end of the show. So the OMG moment of the night.
I mean, vehicular manslaughter is kind of a big one, but do you know what? I'm going to take it from the context of storytelling. I'm going to say Kurt Angle with winning the title was the OMG moment of the night.
Damn it, you word for word are exactly the same as what I was going to say. It's just...
Same way, brother.
Absolutely. We are there. Match of the night. Didn't get the star rating, but we're going to find out what it's going to be now. What was the match of the night for you,
dude? Like 4.5 for me, man. Like again, without seeing everything in that year, it's really hard for me to sit there and give it 5, but it's close.
4-star rating for me. Rock and Kurt Angle, of course. Dave Meltzer gave this a 4.25-star rating as well. It's easily match of the night.
Yeah.
Entrance of the night.
Oh, Stone Cold. I think it's not very often someone gets to drive up to the ring in a truck and and leave in the same truck. Yeah, I'll give it to Austin.
Yeah, with a runner-up spot for Naked Million, but no, Stone Cold gets the win. MVP of the night.
Hard one to call. Do you know what? I'm going to give it to Stephanie McMahon. I think that with it being the week that we reviewed this, the week that she's been announced as being the first inductee for 2026, I think she plays a major part in the story angles for 2 of the matches on this show. So I'm going to give it to Stephanie McMahon.
I like it. I'm going to give it to... It should give it to Kurt Angle because it's his night, his moment. But I'm going to give it to Rikishi. To call that annihilation and beating still comes out of the main event. Don't know how he managed to make it out there, to be fair. So I'll give it to him.
That's a fair point.
Final rating, No Mercy 2000, score out of 10.
8 out of 10. I think that's fair. It's not the greatest show, but it is highly entertaining.
7.5. 7.5. There we are. Yeah, I think it's a 3/4 rating show. Yeah, it's definitely worth your time to go out and watch. And like, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you definitely should go and check it out, in my personal opinion. Definitely. But any final words before we wrap things up today?
Nope, just go and check out that main event because honestly, I when this card was announced, I looked at it and I went, yeah, that'll be all right. And just go back and watch that match. Honestly, it's especially for someone if you're the same age as us and you've watched wrestling for as long as we have, you'll have a whole new appreciation for that main event.
Certainly indeed. Make sure to go and check it out. We recommend it. If you've enjoyed this video, then make sure to check out more content on the channel. What about some of the more retro reviews on there? We've got plenty of them. We've got a home playlist as well. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And yeah, we'll see you for the next video. Take care. Thanks for watching, and all the best.